Hi, this is Micah Halpern with a perspective of Israel at war with Gaza. One of the most critical questions one has to ask in this war with Gaza is to try to understand exactly the deafening silence of so many people in the world and their condemnation of Hamas. Now one has to think for a second. We're looking at protests and rallies in favor of Hamas. How can people be in favor of a murderous, massacring group of people? A group of people who murdered more than 1,400 innocent civilians, butchered them in ways and language that we don't even have. Actually, I'm trying to develop a new word for what happened. Just like in the aftermath of the Holocaust, we created a word called Holocaust, because it didn't exist beforehand. These events of October 7th were unique historically. Never before had something like that happened. So after the Holocaust was also an event which was unique, after the Holocaust, it was required to create a new word coming from the Latin and the Greek, holocaust, which means to be burned totally without any thing that would remain. Destruction of that ilk. We use the word genocide also, but that was more used for descriptions of what happened, let's say, in the Armenian genocide at the hands of the Turks, or something of that ilk. We need a new word to describe the horrors that were perpetrated on Jews on October 7th. I don't exactly know what that word is yet, but I'm coming up with several options. The interesting and important component to me is, though, why and how is it possible that people, thoughtful people, educated people, are not condemning those who did it, and they're actually rallying in support of them? How is it possible to understand this? We could only understand it through the veil of seeing the perspective and lenses of seeing that really what motivates them is what still and motivates Hamas. Hamas just isn't an organization. It's a movement to murder Jews. All Jews. The Jews of Israel first. But it's also a branch of Islamic Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt, whose objective also is to rid the world of Western influences. All these things are tied into one another. It's important for us to see that. Hamas's objective, when you read their charter, it becomes very clear. Their objective is to destroy Israel and to destroy all Jewish components of it. The Jews are to be wiped out. Simple as that. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's not about settlement. It's about Israel itself. That's the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. When you look at the map, there's nothing in between but them. They want it to be theirs exclusively and no Jews inside. And that becomes deeply problematic. It becomes hard for us to understand and comprehend just how vicious that expression is. Now, there have been movements to try to confront this educationally on campuses, but they've not been successful. One of the most powerful movements is the birthright movement, which takes Jewish young adults to Israel and describes to them and shows them with their own eyes, walking with their own 2 feet and touching with their own 2 hands and seeing the beauty of Israel and what Israel is about, looking at the issues and complex issues and trying to understand them better. But those students, when they come back to campus, are not necessarily properly equipped to confront massive rallies in favor of Hamas. These are in favor of destroying the Jewish people. It's devastating for them. They're sidelined. They're cowering in fear in many ways. It's very difficult to understand. But what happens is that they have fears of being counseled and fears of fundamentally being ostracized and fears that they don't have the skill set to confront Hamas. And so what happens is that these voices supporting murder and massacre of Jews are going unanswered on campus. And that's truly troubling. How do we ultimately manifest or create a situation whereby we can confront this, attack it? In Israel, it's a battle on the ground, a battle between the Israeli army, the Israeli state, the Jewish state, and Hamas. It's a battle of life and death in the future of the Jewish people. There's no question about it. But on campus and in the United States and on media, it's also a battle. But it's a different kind of battle. It's a battle of ideas. It's a battle of right and wrong. It's a battle of good versus evil. And I think it's possible, given the right environments, given the right investments in time and energy and money, that we can ultimately equip younger adults, because if we don't, then we're going to miss the middle people, the people who are undecided. Not the haters. The haters of Jews and the haters of Israel will not be convinced, but we'll be able to get to the people who are undecided, to convince them. Because that's where the future is. The future is with the people who are going to be voting and leading and becoming leaders in Senate, in Congress, as well as in their communities. We have to find them and convince them that Hamas is not just bad, but that they're murderous, and that Israel represents the good here. So I want to thank you very much. This is Micah Halpern and my perspective on JBS.